The amount of fighting styles in the anime is unique and well researched, as they hail from different countries and cultures.
ネテロの拳は音を置き去りにした。
Martial arts is always presented marvelously when it comes to anime and manga, and highly respected and regarded as one of the essentials when it comes to fighting. These two manga has been in the top of the game when it comes to martial arts and hand-to-hand combat. Baki Hanma, aka World's Strongest Boy, being put up against One Punch Man's most elite martial artists.
流水岩彩剣
And overall, the manga filled with the most talented and powerful martial artists, fighters that brings eyes to the panels and butts on seats, and characters we felt attached to more than others. Both these manga presented great characters that practices martial arts, also currently still demonstrating the best hand-to-hand combat in manga history. Welcome to this channel. It's time to analyze Baki's strength and overall talent to put him against the best martial artists in the One Punch Man manga. When talking about the most well-known martial art anime in the industry, it's no doubt that Baki is the most dedicated series in this particular craft. I mean, if you count its series with its correspondent volumes, you'd find a total of 1,332 chapters. That's literally more than One Piece. This whole story talks about a certain kid trying to surpass his father, who happens to be the strongest creature in the world. And that kid is none other than the world's strongest boy, Baki Hanma. Baki Hanma is currently considered to be in the same tier of power as his father. His understanding and mastery over martial arts allowed him to attain a level that places him above every character in the series. And to simply state every ability he has would require a full video of its own. But similar to his father, he can copy techniques and perform them on such a higher level, as shown being able to master Aikido without even knowing it, and used Kakukaiyo's Chao Li in the movie, but I'm not sure if that's entirely canon. He also has knowledge and use of multiple techniques, such as literally creating an image of his opponent who he can fight against as if he's already there, can also literally react to attacks before happening by reading his opponent's brain signals, and has access to the majority of martial arts presented in the story. Now, before we start descaling, it's very important to address a major problem regarding the Baki manga, and that being the mistranslations. You see, since Baki doesn't really have an English official publisher, we have no other choice but to read it from fan translation sources such as Wild Fang Project and the Spiny Bag team. These two are very notorious for missing out the context of the scenes and straight up mistranslating certain statements. Although I'm very grateful they stepped up to translate this amazing series, but the truth be told that the English version we have just has so many translating errors. In this case, the anime is really the best source for attaining correct informations on some ambiguous or vague statements. Reasons this is important is because scaling wise, some feats are being used despite relying on a clear mistranslation or missing the context entirely. Let's start with the first one, being Biscuit Oliver in chapter 49 of Baki Hanma affecting the earth in his fight with Gevaru. This of course relies on a bad translation that makes you think he can actually shake the world. You see, the correct translation is not that he affected the whole world, but rather it was happening on a global scale. The context for this scene was actually explained in chapter 26, stating that since Biscuit Oliver is being monitored by military satellites, then car navigations would get affected by 70 meters from the position they are located, simply due to Oliver moving faster than usual, meaning he is definitely not strong enough to shake the world. Second mistranslation comes from a miner in volume 10.5, saying that Pickle took the impact of the meteor head on. I literally spent hours and hours on dissecting this particular panel, with additional helps from different sources translating their statements, and to my surprise, the word meteor can't seem to be found, let alone the miner's statement saying that Pickle took the impact head on. The context of this whole scene is that these miners can't seem to believe a human is actually attacking a T-Rex, because in their perspective it's just unbelievable. One of them after concluded that this was the results of Pickle's intense reaction of being attacked, of which which the other replied, if that's true, then that's a very brave man. Absolutely nothing about a meteor whatsoever. This is more so substantiated with Hanma Baki, son of Ogre anime season 2, where it literally translates the same thing. In fact, in chapter 81, Dr. Albert explained that the meteor just froze everyone and everything, and nothing about any character or creature tanking a meteor was mentioned. So in other words, there are no evidence that validates this meta, meaning it cannot be used. Now, last one I've already talked about in my Yujiro vs Garu's video, which is Katsubi being calced at 78 the speed of sound, simply due to Kakukayu's statement of punching at 1,000 miles per minute. This is unfortunately another wrong translation, since the correct one should be, if you want to accelerate a move, any number of joints can be added, 100 or 1,000. Any numbers you want, which means in order to go supersonic or partially beyond, one should imagine himself possessing that many joints in order to perform it. But nonetheless, the best way to have a proper understanding of how strong Baki is to obviously scale him to the strongest creature in the world, Yujiro Hanma, who his best feat so far is allegedly stopping an earthquake with his fist. This, at the high end, generated 482 kilotons of energy, which places him at large town level in terms of attack potency. And when it comes to speed, Baki should be relative to Yujiro, who can dodge lightning even with his guard down. That should put him at massively hypersonic. This is obviously without accounting for their demon backs amps that should raise their combat skills and physical stats to another level. Now, strictly speaking, these two feats are still very contentious. Until this day, people are still debating whether Yujiro really can dodge lightning or stop an earthquake. And at the same time, there are certain individuals who thinks Baki's jab can even move at the speed of light, when even Yujiro himself in literally the next chapter explained how these are nothing but hyperbole statements and mere exaggerations, which means that the Baki verse in terms of speed should cap at massively hypersonic and large town level in terms of attack potency. Baki Hanma lately has been showing nothing but clear dominations over everyone in such spectacular fashion. Requires only 10 seconds to completely wash off a high tier character, leaving an important question to be answered. How would he manage against One Punch Man's true martial artist? Without a shadow of a doubt, the One Punch Man manga has one of the best fights choreography in the manga industry. You have Garu blocking Genos's punch with raising his leg, and Bomb being a total badass using his back to send Garu flying. Many of these amazing moves and creative attacks are usually demonstrated by One Punch Man's styles and fists users. You see, there exist approximately 30 martial artists in the game, and most of them are certainly characters that we either have never seen fighting or just some weak fathers that doesn't have any remarkable feats. While some of them has been displayed in the Super Fight tournament, other has only been mentioned and we've never seen them fighting. So for this specific video, we'd only be including the most relevant fighters in One Punch Man who are prominent in the general plot of the series. These practitioners are Lightning Max, Snack, Human Chose, Human Bakuzan, Suiryu, Garu, Silver Fang, and Bomb. I even thought of including monsters like Orochi and Goketsu, but that would just be extremely unfair. Now, starting with Snack and Max, both should be the weakest on this list. Managed to advance by defeating a martial artist in the tournament individually, and are accustomed to real life and death situations. However, both of them should be on a similar tier since they straight up can't defeat or damage demons, but rather only tiger level threats. These types of monsters usually range from building to small town level at best. Human Bakuzan, on the other hand, should be stronger than both, since not only is he the two-time champion of the Super Fight tournament, that means he arguably defeated characters who are on par with Max and Snack in terms of martial arts, but also was fairly confident that if any monster appears in this stadium, he'd be able to deal with it. I mean, obviously he was delusional, but the guy is still strong. Next in line should be Suiryu. Not only is he significantly stronger than every fighter in that tournament, except obviously Saitama, since he defeated both Max and Snack easily, and Bakuzan admitted that Suiryu is was far stronger than him, but also was able to win against monsterized Chose and took considerable and heavy punishment from both Koketsu and Bakuzan and still was fairly conscious. His feat of blocking the spherical beam and splitting the cloud generated equal force to that of large town to city levels in terms of attack potency. With the human Garu demonstrating better stats and feats, especially in the durability department, he should be at least equal if not higher than city level in terms of attack potency. Moving on to Bang and Bomb, who not only can withstand hits from dragon level monsters, but can also fight and be relative to a Garu who managed to defeat Darkshine, who by the very least is mountain to island level in terms of punching force. This clearly tells that when monsterization is not in play, Bang and Bomb are the strongest martial artists in the game. Now, speed in One Punch Man depends on which meta you want to take. If you want to go by statements gathered both in the manga and the databook, Awakened Cockroach stated to Genos that he can dodge at the speed of light, and characters like Suiryu and above should be relative or comparable in speed, since Garu was able to fight Metal Bat, who was able to react and tangle with a dragon level monster who blitzed Genos 55 times in the audiobooks, not to mention Genos early on dodging lasers that were stated to be composed of light. In addition to that, Lightning Max was stated in the databook to attack at the speed of lightning, which means characters on his level should be at least massively hypersonic. However, if you choose to go solely by calcs, then characters on par with Suiryu and Garu should move at massively hypersonic plus. This is due to being significantly superior to the Deep Sea King, and the high tier characters such as Bomb and Bang should range from relativistic to faster than light speeds, being superior to those who are calced at the same level. Lightning Max, Snack and Bakuzan on the other hand should be at least high hypersonic in this regard. Moving on to the skills and martial arts aspects, each fighter has a different set of skills that separates them from the other, such as Snack's biting snake fist that strikes from angles that would not be expected, Bakuzan's Dark Hell assassination art that focuses on hitting vital points inflicting fatal strikes, Suiryu's Void Fist that amps his destructive power with maintaining the speed and accuracy of each attack, the Water Streamlock Smashing Fist reflects physical attacks and redirect them at double the force, and last but not least, Bomb's Whirlwind Iron Cutting Fist that uses wind pressure to slice his opponents. These are obviously not everything that they can do, since a character like Garu can adapt and copy techniques midway through their fights, and Silver Fang can use Awakened Breath that amps his speed, his focus and attack potency to the absolute limits. These fighters certainly attained a proficient level of fighting when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. Not only they can use it against humans and fellow martial artists, but proves to be fatal even against mysterious beings and monsters. With all of this being said, can any of these fighters manage to overcome the world's strongest boy, Baki Hanma? Now, in order to make these fights more interesting, we'd be matching Baki against every One Punch Man artist with comparing their actual stats, and later we would also consider the possibility of what would happen if all their stats are equal. And based on the big roster of martial artists One Punch Man has, we'd use 4 different categories to have a clear verdict for these fights. And these categories are characters he can defeat, characters he can compete with, characters we simply don't know, and characters he straight up cannot defeat. Starting with the first category, it is self-explanatory that most of these Super Fight Tournament participants shouldn't even be in the same ring as Baki. Characters like Soreface, Bimpatsu and Sharanko would obviously be dealt with easily. It would literally go similar to how Baki dealt with Shinsei Kakukayo, who he defeated in literally 2 seconds. I'd even argue that he'd defeat both Snack and Max in a similar fashion as Suiryu, as even though Max's speed should be on par with Baki if you take the databook statement, but he unfortunately is still levels beneath the latter in literally every regard. Same thing goes for Human Chose or Bakuzan, who heavily lacks feats and shouldn't be capable of competing against Baki. Now moving on to the second category, if you take the high end of Baki being large town level of attack potency, he'd still be able to compete against Suiryu, who ranges from large town to city levels of punching force. And to be completely fair, Yujiro's level of strength has increased ever since he performed that feat, as his his demon back and paired with the additional knowledge on various types of fighting should raise his level much higher. And even if Baki is slightly inferior to Suiryu in terms of attack potency and can still be relative in speed if you include the Calx meta, his proficiency of martial arts and skills far surpasses that of Suiryu. You can read Suiryu's brain signals to effectively dodge his attacks, for example. However, Suiryu is also a genius martial artist, as even though Baki's skills are far better, multiple city level punches would be able to cripple and damage him severely. So this fight can go either way, depends on multiple factors that could change the outcome drastically. However, with Garu, even though Baki would initially be able to compete, his chances of victory drops significantly, similar to what I stated in the Yujiro vs Garu's video. The most pressing ability Garu has is adapting and getting stronger during the fight. Even if both copy each other's techniques, Garu's ability to become stronger and adapt is not an actual technique to be copied, but rather just has to do with his innate potential and fast growth, which means surely Baki would be able to compete at first, but unless he has an attack that can one-shot Garu, it would inevitably result in him getting defeated no matter how many abilities he has in his arsenal. Now, moving on to characters he straight up cannot defeat, which is obviously Bang and Bomb. These two are tangling with threats far greater than anything shown in the Baki verse. Surely Baki has a better arsenal when it comes to the martial arts variety, but the massive difference in strength, whether you use their low or high end spectrum, is just considerably massive. Bang and Bomb would toy with him mercilessly, perception blitz him and completely destroy him. This unfortunately is not close. With all of this being said, the characters that we simply don't know if Baki can defeat or not are Suiku, Human Orochi, Human Koketsu, and the rest of the other dojos we still didn't see. Suiku is the creator of Void Fist and the one who taught it to Suiryu, therefore he should be extremely strong. But similar to Human Koketsu or Human Orochi, how strong they really are we simply don't know. But nonetheless, when it comes to equal stats, only Garu would be able to compete against Baki due to his ability to adapt and get stronger. Any other characters simply pales in comparison when it comes to knowledge and mastery over martial arts compared to Baki. Don't get me wrong, the One Punch Man verse has many complicated styles, but so is Baki. And not only can he copy their techniques, but can also combine them with his and uses it proficiently to completely dismantle everyone. So in this regard, Baki should be the more dominant fighter in this list. Thank you so much for watching, and please make sure to join the Discord server. Until next time, please take good care.